was put in order to be a bridge. And it was going to be a bridge to some new income tax policy and the collection of those income taxes. The only side of the coin on which the legislature did anything with income taxes was on the corporate side. Individual income taxes have remained untouched. I've always maintained that this set of bills, I wanted revenue neutrality, but that if in a separate instrument the administration could get revenue, that then I would adjust the rate so that their revenue didn't disappear the next year. This in and of itself should be revenue neutral. At the ballot, I think it needs to be revenue neutral because it needs to be a decision about policy and more so than how does this affect me. I'd like to keep the effects on each individual as minimal as humanly possible.
What would you say to fiscal conservatives who said we felt like the penny sales tax was in fact a bridge, but it was a bridge into structural spending reforms, many of which have been elaborated upon by Treasurer Kennedy in here, such as helping to remove Medicaid waste, such as 15% or 10% reduction in consulting contracts, things of this nature, which he has repeatedly said would generate a situation where you wouldn't need any revenue. So I know when you just addressed the issue of saying it's a bridge, I think everybody agrees it was a bridge, it's 27 months in length, but what would you say to the fiscal conservatives who would say we thought it was to be a bridge for structural spending reforms, not for looking for other revenue sources to offset it when it, as Lanny references, when it goes away in 27 months?
I would agree with you. Now, I sit on Ways and Means, but I've got a lot of friends of mine who really are determined to find those structural changes and those cuts that sit on appropriations. Okay. And my argument at this point is that like for instance, in the first special session, I had an enhanced Medicaid fraud auditing bill. And it was just going to provide that, you know, the DHH would have a couple of extra people from the legislative auditor's office in there doing enhanced Medicaid fraud auditing. It sailed through the appropriations, it sailed through the House floor. I think I had a bunch of co-authors. When it got to Senate committee, it was killed, and it was killed in a bipartisan fashion, and not by people that were just trying to do that for the governor. So that got killed, and then my seatmate, Barry Ivey, very conservative, he had a bill to really pull apart how we do pensions. And that got killed in retirement committee, and not just by you know, it's bipartisan that these things are getting killed. I know that appropriations heard all the consultants' contracts. They had nothing got done there. Well, I think some things got done there. I'm not completely up on all of them, but I have experted myself purposely on the subject matter at which I have an expertise because of my CPA background. I'm in taxation, that I attend all these national events on state and local tax, and that's kind of my mission right now. And I have to rely somewhat on the judgment of my colleagues that sit on those committees, and I'm just not seeing any of these cuts happen. You know, we could realign some things possibly in higher education. People talk about going down to one board instead of a UL, LSU, Southern board. Somebody put in a bill to make it happen. I mean, I just see, and then when somebody does put in a bill, it dies on the vine, and it dies on the vine with bipartisan lack of support. So I don't disagree with you at all. And I'm going to tell you, I'm very fiscally conservative, but we need movement. We need for these things not to die on the vine and to be taken up. And when they're not taken up, it causes concern in me that they can't be done. And if they can't be done, I've got, you know, 900 kids, I think, on TOPS in my district. Other areas have these hospital problems, you know, certainly New Orleans with the big UMC project. We either need to find the money through cuts or find it through revenue, but somehow I feel like we've got to stop living on subsistence level as a state. I mean, this has been 2 solid years of nothing but this. There's no moving forward. There's no bettering. There's no competing. There's no attracting better professors. There's no delivering better health care. There's no attracting businesses and job creation. There's none of that until we can resolve it one way or the other. And believe me, the easiest solution would be on the expenditure side. Absolutely no doubt. I'd love to find that, but somebody needs to stand up and really do it.
Gotcha. Thank you.
On this thing with Kennedy said that, you know, there were Medicaid issues. I went to consultants on that, and they said that that's a federal level. The hospital, whether you go and see a dermatologist or emergency room, you're going to bill the same bill, same way you bill from home. But also, we have had the Streamlining Commission, non-union commission, we've had the general administration for 8 years. Do you really feel that there's a structural change, or
I hope that there is. I mean, I would like to think that there's some streamlining between 3 systems of colleges that could be done. I would like to think that there was something on the retirement side that could be done. I certainly would have loved to have seen my bill just to look at fraud in the Medicaid system addressed. You know, there's transparency bills out there that got killed in Senate. I mean, I hope so. And my first passion would be to find those expenditure cuts. That would be the easiest thing to do. But as I said earlier, we're not finding them.
well,
And-
it's been going on 9 years now, with the general administration plus, so where's it to find it? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
That's where I am too. Because there's people that are on appropriations that very much want to see cuts, and they spend a lot more time looking at expenses than I do sitting on Ways and Means, and I'm waiting too.